Welcome to the Daily Transfer Show. I'm your host Miles. I'm joined here by Peter Storn, our chief correspondent at Goal. We're going to be rounding up some of the top transfer news and gossip of the last 48 hours. And we can kick off right now with a breaking news story of sorts that we just published on Goal. Essentially, Neymar has a secret deal to potentially join Real Madrid in the summer. But the crux is PSG have to win the Champions League, which could be something that would happen. But essentially, it's going to be a case of Neymar or Zidane, isn't it, at this rate?
Well, you would look at the match next month between Real Madrid and PSG in the Champions League and think that it's effectively a playoff between Zidane and Neymar, because if Real Madrid go out of the Champions League, well, Zidane was probably going to get sacked. I think he's acknowledged that reality himself last night after going out of the Copa del Rey to Leganes. And if PSG go on and win the Champions League, well, you know, we understand there's an agreement that once PSG do manage to win the Champions League, that Neymar will be permitted to depart, as if his job in Paris is done.
Yeah, it's a so-called gentleman's agreement.
A gentleman's agreement between...
It'll be interesting to see if they do hold him to that. If Neymar fires them to Champions League glory, I mean, they're going to be hard pushed to let go of him easily, aren't they? I mean, it's going to cost them a lot of money, Real Madrid, to get him. Yeah,
obviously, we know that in the French league there's no buyout clauses, so, you know, it's not like, you know, they can just write it into his contract and he can leave for 222 million, the same way that Barcelona did, which is looking like great value, you know, as the days go by. 222 million for Neymar is unbelievable value, especially when you're paying like 160 for Coutinho these days. Yeah, it's amazing value. But obviously, we don't have one of those in Ligue 1, so they can charge what they want. And if he's 26 years old this time, you know, by the time he moves to Real Madrid, you know, he could be a Ballon d'Or winner at that stage as well. You know, you're looking at a player who's could be worth 300, 400 million.
It's been a while since they signed a big player, hasn't it? We've talked about it a few times in this transfer window, and essentially the last big
Galactico.
Galactico, yeah. Essentially the last one was Toni Kroos, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he's the last sort of first-team player that they signed. Everything else has been built in for the future. And I do think that they need a boost. You know, and you look at what's happened with Zidane. He's getting diminishing returns out of that team week by week, and it's alarming how quickly they're sliding. You know, I remember writing a piece at the time when Zidane was starting his first full season after winning the Champions League. Started last season then. And I wrote that, you know, is he going to be Florentino Perez's Pep Guardiola, as in, you know, a homespun coach who's going to, you know, put the team on the path to glory? Or is he going to be like Roberto Di Matteo, who obviously won the Champions League with Chelsea, but was never really seen as the architect of that success? Now, what we're looking at with Zidane at the minute is that he's incapable. It looks like he's incapable of getting any better level of performance out of what is essentially the same group of players, and that is a dangerous place for a coach to be in. Now, will he get a chance to rectify that in the January transfer window? Real Madrid have already said that they don't want players in this January transfer window. They missed out on Kepa. And in the summer, they're definitely going to need to revamp their striking line. Benzema's not good enough anymore. Cristiano Ronaldo is not playing well, and he looks to be causing a bit of a headache for Perez as well with this new contract that he wants. And Gareth Bale, you know, he only plays 50% of the minutes, and you know what's next for him. So they definitely need a Galactico signing, and nobody better fits the bill than Neymar. We know that it's Neymar's dream to play for Real Madrid. He's made no secret about this. It was a surprise for me when he went to Barcelona in the first place, because he was such a perfect fit for Real Madrid.
Yeah, in 2013 it was a lot. They were sort of the favourites, weren't they, Real Madrid?
Yeah, and even you know, when he was a teenager, there was you know, Madrid have tied up this deal for Vinicius Junior, and there was a deal like that in place for Neymar, where they were going to sign him when he was a kid, effectively, and then, you know, sort of keep him on the boil until it was time to graduate to the first team. Now, that didn't happen for whatever reason, and he ended up in the clutches of Barcelona, but that dream will have not gone away. Every kid in the world wants to play for Real Madrid, and I don't put it this way, I don't think Neymar went to bed every night when he was a kid dreaming of playing for Paris Saint-Germain.
No. Even, I mean, Ronaldinho played for them when he was a kid, I guess.
Yeah, but, you know, it was a stepping stone to greater glory, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
So I can see this deal making sense, and also from Neymar's point of view, I can imagine he's going to get pretty tired of Ligue 1. You know, it's like we watched him against Dijon last week.
He scored 4 goals.
He scored 4 goals and he didn't even smile. He scored one of the greatest slaloming dribble goals that you're ever likely to see. But, you know, what does it mean, really? What does it mean? You know, and I think that he's got that appetite, that hunger to be visible. And there's no better club in the world for visibility than Real Madrid. You know, like, you wouldn't employ his mate is Lewis Hamilton. You're not going to employ Lewis Hamilton to drive your Uber around, are you? Because you get pretty bored of that. You think, yeah, it's nice to drive a car, you know.
Yeah. Not the racetrack, though, is it?
It's not the racetrack, is it? And Real Madrid is the racetrack,
yeah,
you know.
True.
That's where the big players want to be, and Neymar will be no different.
Yeah. So it'll all come down essentially to this Champions League match. I had a look at the odds before we came on air on Dabblebet, just our bookmaker, and Man City are now favourites at 11-4. PSG second favourites 4-1. Bayern third favourites 9-2. Barcelona fourth favourites 13-2, and Real Madrid all the way out at 8-1 at this point. And at the start of the season, they were favourites back-to-back Champions League titles. It looked like they were going to stroll La Liga comfortably back then. Barcelona looked in disarray. It's crazy how in 7-8 months
it's come apart so quickly for Zidane. And what's confusing is that he didn't really change an awful lot when he went in there. Obviously, the atmosphere cleared a little bit when Benitez left.
Yeah.
But it's the same players. They're effectively playing the same. Well, obviously, he doesn't play so much with the BBC, but it's still the same group of players. And he didn't really alter anything other than the atmosphere around the club. And you know that goodwill seems to dissipate it now.
That aura
and they're back down to probably at a worse level now than they were when Benitez was there. I like Benitez. I thought he got treated harshly by Real. I'll be honest, but they're probably worse now than when Benitez took over. And the scale of the problems facing not only Zidane but Real Madrid are monumental now.
Do you think it's a matter of time at this point?
No, because they can turn it all around in Europe. They've got that muscle memory of how to win big games.
They've got Ronaldo.
They've got Ronaldo, but they've got match winners all over. And I don't mean just in the goal scoring sense, but if you've got a midfield that's containing Luka Modric and Toni Kroos and Isco, you know, you've got a chance in any game.
Yeah.
And I include PSG in that. Will PSG be able to raise their level, considering that the only time that they've had to, you know, in 2018, let's say, they had to raise their game against Lyon, they couldn't do it. They couldn't get that aggression.
Didn't have Neymar though.
No, they didn't have Neymar, but they might not have him next month either. You don't know whether he's going to be injured
or whether he's just going to be not fussed.
Yeah, or maybe he's going to his sister's birthday party or something. You know what he's like.
Having a trip back to Brazil.
Yeah,
maybe.
But I still think Real can slip into gear when it comes to the Champions League, and that would be 8-1 is a good bet.
It is actually, yeah. Put some money on that. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to move on to the Premier League, where the big talking point at the moment is Edin Dzeko's potential move.
Just on that, right, so Man City are 11-4 and Real are 8-1. If Man City played Real tomorrow, who do you think would win?
Man City.
You think Man City would beat them over 2 legs?
Right now, yeah. Maybe if Real get past PSG and they're playing later on and they've sorted out the nooks and crannies.
I'd still fancy Real Madrid to
against this Man
at this
City
level,
team.
yeah, I would. Anyway,
moving on to Chelsea, where they look set to sign Edin Dzeko, obviously Roma striker. He played last night and he scored against Sampdoria, I believe. But it looks like it could be his last appearance because it seems like essentially the deal is done with Roma and essentially this needs to agree personal terms.
Yeah, no deal yet was the latest we heard, as in it's not finalised.
No, they seem to have agreed a fee with Roma from what our Chelsea correspondent
and there's some visa work permit issues that need to be tied up.
Yeah, but those are usually a formality. I mean,
yeah, a great signing. Obviously, Dzeko for me has been a very consistent performer, not only in Serie A with Roma, but also with Wolfsburg and with Man City too. Yeah. I thought Man City were I thought they erred in getting rid of Dzeko so hastily. I thought he still had a job to do in the Premier League.
But at the same time, he also made a pretty wise career move in leaving Man City, where he was never going to usurp Aguero, going into Serie A and making it his own and really playing quite well. So.
And he's got himself back into prominence, and he gets a move to Chelsea, and that is a great deal for him. He's going to be on far bigger wages there than he will be at Roma, that's for sure. And I think he's going into start. I don't think he's inferior in any way to Morata. And I think he'll start for Chelsea. He knows the league. He should get off to a flying start there because there's no acclimatisation process. He knows what he's doing in the Premier League, and it's a good deal for Chelsea. They need a proven goal scorer, somebody who knows the league, somebody who is crucially tall.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
But we were talking a little bit before the show with one of our colleagues, essentially about how could the move for Dzeko essentially have been preceded by Conte, and those names being leaked of Carroll, Crouch, Barnes, essentially really angering Chelsea fans and being like, what on earth is going on here?
I think they'll be happy with Dzeko.
Force Chelsea into that move for saying, right, we need to splash out on a tall striker who might be over 30, and Chelsea in recent years have not spent anything like this money.
No, they've only brought in, I think, free transfers, people like Willy Caballero and Mark Schwarzer and guys like that. I
think
who were over 30.
Most money they spent over 30 was Eto'o, who was 2 million.
2 million, yeah. They just don't do it. But it says something about the condition that Dzeko keeps himself in. and also the esteem in which Chelsea still hold him. I don't think it doesn't strike me as a desperate deal.
No.
You know, it's not a desperate deal, it's a logical deal because he's a really good player.
No.
And good luck to him. I think he'll do really well for Chelsea.
And Emerson also is Dzeko's teammate at Roma. It sounds like he might be joining him.
Yeah,
as cover for Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso probably surprised a lot of people in how well he's done at Chelsea.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't really, pull up any trees. Where was he? At Sunderland, I think, before. It was at Bolton.
Bolton,
yeah. And
went to Fiorentina.
I went to Fiorentina, and he kind of learned how to defend there.
Yeah, and he came over, and
he came over and he slotted in really well. You know,
yeah.
I think he's done much better than people expected. I think what you're getting from Davide Zappacosta, I think, is what people expected from Marcos Alonso. You know, just kind of
a cover.
Yeah, a bit of cover, but he's done so well,
Yeah.
and they do need some cover for that position. And Emerson that deal looks like it's a double deal. It's really close, and Emerson will come in and provide competition for Alonso.
So a good late deal in the transfer window potentially by Chelsea. 44 million euros for both of them.
And you put in Ross Barkley on top of that.
Yeah.
But it's still not enough because they had a very bad summer transfer market, in my opinion.
These are the deals they should have done in the summer.
No, they should even be looking at better players. To improve as a club, they need to be looking at better players.
Well,
this is a band-aid solution. This is, you know, for the here and now. These players that they're bringing in, Dzeko and Palmieri and Barkley, that's for the here and now.
Yeah.
But they let Matic go, they let Diego Costa go, John Terry went, and the influence that he has in the dressing room. And they just replaced these guys. They brought in Bakayoko, they brought in Morata, and they brought back Christensen, brought in Rudiger. Yeah. But they're not signings that bring them to the next level. And they're still short of those players, right? So they won the Premier League when they didn't have to play in the Champions League, but they still don't have enough players that can get them to that next level. People on Hazard's level.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of work to do for Chelsea. This might sort them out and make sure that they can finish in the top four. But I'm counting them out of the Champions League already because they're going to get eliminated by Barcelona. And these players will be enough to get them over the line domestically, but they need huge players in the summer. They probably need to spend another 400 million in the summer.
400 million?
I think so, yeah.
Let us know in the comments section if you're watching on Facebook what you reckon Chelsea should do in the transfer market. We're going to move on now to
Neymar.
No, not Neymar again. What, Chelsea go for Neymar?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, tell you what, 10 years ago it would have been a no-brainer. It's like Chelsea, they've got all the money.
Yeah.
Go for the most valued player in the transfer market. But now it's funny how things change.
Yeah, well, people seem to forget that Chelsea were the PSG of their day.
Abramovich was there, just throwing money at. Who was it? Scott Parker or
Sean Wright Phillips? Anyone, you know?
Anyone up and coming in the Premier League?
Yeah,
Christ Almighty.
Just did it.
Kitson. This is Dave Kitson as well, is he?
Sidwell.
Sidwell, that's it. Yeah.
You're getting your gingers mixed up.
Let's quickly move on to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So the latest with him. It seems like Arsenal is still just not.
The standoff
quite...
continues.
Yeah, I mean it's typical Arsenal, is it?
Well, it looked a couple of days ago that we just get the signature on this and it would be all over. But if I were Arsenal fans, I think we're getting into what Alex Ferguson used to call squeaky bum time.
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit worried about this one falling off the rails. But if it comes down to that Arsenal won't pay an extra, what it looks at this stage, they're about maybe 6 or 7 million apart between the second offer and what the asking price is. Now, there is a danger that Dortmund will just pull out of it altogether and say, you know what, forget it, we're keeping him until the end of the season. That's where Arsenal need to be clever in this next stage of negotiations. They just need to get in and
just pay that money.
Just pay the money.
God damn it, Wenger, just pay the money. See, my opinion on it is essentially it's going to come to deadline day. Dortmund at that point are going to be like, no, we can't find a replacement. We're not
it's too late. It's too late on deadline day.
And Arsenal is going to panic, blow 35 million on Andy Carroll, and everyone's going to be like, what have you done? What have you done, Wenger?
For the sake of we're about 7 million apart, and 7 million wouldn't buy you. You know, it doesn't buy you much, and you know what are they using that 7 million for? 7 million
can push them into the top four, surely
it's worth it. Surely it's worth it. So,
can you see them getting top four without Aubameyang?
I still think, I mean, when you've got a player of the quality of Mesut Ozil, I think you've always got a chance. Just need to sort out their consistency. Really good at home, but they could do with picking up some points around the other teams in the top 6. But I think that they will. I think they'll be top 4. Yeah.
Aubameyang or no Aubameyang?
That's the crucial question, and they need Aubameyang, right? Because they got rid of Mkhitaryan is not a direct replacement for Sanchez. A direct replacement for Sanchez in a striking sense, in a forward sense, would be Aubameyang. So they absolutely need to get this deal over the line.
All right, we'll see what happens then.
So the news was that Dortmund have rejected the second bid.
Yeah.
And Arsenal need to come back. And,
they do, and time will tell if Wenger and Arsenal will actually do it, or if they're just going to bottle it, as many people think they are going to. So we're going to read out a few now from you guys. Thanks very much for those of you on Facebook who've got in touch with us today. Amit Singh reckons Real Madrid will knock out PSG in both legs. Double whammy. What do you reckon's going to happen in that match?
I think Real Madrid are going to go through.
You reckon so?
Yes, because I don't think PSG learned nothing in the Champions League last year. When you see what happens to them against Barcelona, okay, that for me, that's PSG. Beating Dijon 8-0 that's PSG.
That's their bread and butter. But when it comes to
the crunch, I don't think they've got the character.
Really?
And I know that maybe I'll be accused of being like an admirer of British football, and dependent on sort of strength, intensity, and that kind of thing. But I just don't think there's any character in the team. I'm looking around that team and wondering who's going to get us out of a hole here. For me, Thiago Motta is probably one of the best players in the world for that, but he's too old now. We can't play anymore.
He's past his peak.
Yeah, he's past his peak. And I just don't see that character in the team, that when things are going particularly badly. I mean, what happened against Barcelona last year is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen on a football pitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. And Real Madrid feast in the Champions League. They've gorged themselves on 2 trophies in 2 seasons, 3 in 4 seasons. Yeah. They know how to win this, not just win ties, they know how to win this competition. They're not going to be scared of PSG. No matter what form they're in the league, they're not going to be scared of PSG. And they'll fancy themselves every day of the week to knock them out.
That first leg will be fascinating, because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the first leg is at the Santiago Bernabeu. So, because Real Madrid came second in their group. So if Real Madrid win that comfortably, then it puts the pressure on PSG to perform on their home turf, whereas last year it was the case that I think
they went to Barcelona.
Yeah, and it all fell apart there.
So I fancy Real Madrid.
Yeah. Ketlega says Real Madrid needs a new player in all divisions, a new forward, midfield and a centre back.
Definitely, I would agree with that.
Completely revamp.
Yeah, they probably need a new starting goalkeeper. They need probably a new starting centre back. Midfield for me is okay if they can get another couple of seasons out of Luka Modric. So midfield is fine, but they definitely, they could do with maybe 2 or 3 strikers. How are Neymar and Mbappe playing for PSG and not playing for Real Madrid? Perez must. He must wake up in the night scratching his head wondering, we had Mbappe on trial here when he was a kid. He was taking pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo.
And Neymar, didn't they have Neymar?
And Neymar wanted to play here.
I'm sure he went for trial there when he was like 13.
Yeah,
in a little
and they're playing for...
Mental. Yeah, I bet you get a lot of young players that come in Real Madrid stores, they train there, and then obviously they have other bright futures.
Yeah, and probably Mbappe's father did the right thing in taking him to Monaco. I mean, he's developed perfectly.
Yeah. We have one from Ketlega as well who says Zidane's coached Chelsea.
I don't think Zidane is going to make it as a coach anywhere else. I think he's
Real Madrid.
He's suited to that ecosystem at Real Madrid. It's unique, and I don't think that he's got any great ideas. Put it that way. I think
he relies a lot on his order, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a man manager first and foremost. So I don't think he could take his tactical ideas and apply them elsewhere.
He's not Pep.
He's not Pep. No, he's not Pep. Pep is a systems guy, a philosophy guy.
Yeah.
And he can pick that up and drop it and implement it anywhere. I just don't think Zidane has the same tools as a coach.
We've got one final comment from Hassan who says Man United with Sanchez for sure Champions League winners this year. We didn't even have them in the top 5 favourites, but Man United are probably an outside bet for this, aren't they?
One thing I worry about with United is that I don't think they've got enough choreography in their attack. I think that Mourinho largely depends on individuals to win games for him. And when you look at the quality of teams in the Champions League, pit them against Man City, for example, and I just think that the coordination in the City attack is much better than it is in the United attack. And the top level coaches find it relatively easy to play against Mourinho teams. I mean, it's hard to break through them, but they're quite a rudimentary team. Mourinho, you're not going to get fundamental football really out of.
But he can do the job. I mean, it's been a while.
He takes the fun out of fundamental. Mourinho does really, but I think once they come up against a better team, like then Sevilla, they'll burn out.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We'll be back same time tomorrow, late in the morning, UK time, for more transfer news and gossip. See you then.